Congratulations on Star Trek Discovery.
Thank you. Thank you. We're very happy to be working on the show.
Visually, it looks quite a bit different than any of the previous Star Trek incarnations. How did you sort of arrive at that design working with the team to make it modern, but yet still harken back to our beloved original Star Trek?
I think it's a collaborative process that starts in the design phase with previs and with storyboards and all that stuff. And I think a lot of it has to do with doing research of the past series and looking at what things looked like then, what they look like now, and just sort of it's an evolutionary process. It really is, because you start off, and then, like I alluded to in the panel, you shoot. It looks a little bit different, and then you start to, as the cut begins to develop, you start to develop the visual effects around that, because the point is to help with the story, right? So that's just sort of the evolution of the show.
Now, with the first season, I have to say, everyone didn't look the way I always expected them to look, with the overall design of the Klingons and the different group or families or tribes. How did you guys decide on making them look so different, as well as just the overall look?
I'm probably not the guy to answer that. You probably want to talk to Glenn. Yeah, talk to Glenn, because he was very much under the hood of that whole process, and he like he said up on the panel, there's definitely a reason for it.
Now, what was one of your favorite looks on the show? I loved the planet with the living plant. Yes, that was one of my favorite episodes. How did that design come to be? Because it was in that episode, and then they brought the plant back to life again. Yep. So I assume we're going to see more of the planet next season as well?
You have to ask Aaron and Gretchen about that. But, I mean, in terms of the planet and how that actually evolved over time, again, in the edit with Alex Kurtzman, I spent a lot of time in there, and also with Aaron and Gretchen, where we came in and they said, hey, we'd like to do a little bit more to make this a little more alien-like, more exciting or whatever. And so we just started to come up with some ideas and some concepts and designs, and we worked with Neville to help create the creature and all that, and we just, a lot of iterations, a lot of different, versions of the shots, but in the end, we're really happy with how it came out.
Now, I'm a bit of a nerd and a bit of a tech person. I had an original HD TV, and then I got a 4K DV, and I have to say, it looks so fabulous in 4K.
Excellent. I haven't even been able to see it in 4K yet. I wish I could see it in 4K. But yeah, I mean, I've actually heard that the Netflix feed that they have in Europe is amazing as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that at some point. Yeah.
And one of the things that I find fascinating about the show is that it looks like, I don't know how much money you guys spend per episode, but it looks like you guys are spending a lot of money. How do you sort of budget out how you're going to spend money to make things look a certain way? And do you have any kind of limits where CBS All Access says, no, you guys are going crazy with the budget, stop it?
No, I don't think there's limitations or anything like that. I mean, I think we always had what we needed to get the show done. And I think it shows up on camera. I mean, I think looking at the visual effects, it's beautiful high-end visual effects, and we're really proud of that.
I love the way it looks. I love the ship and with the spinning, because it looks different than any of the other Star Trek ships I remember ever seeing. But when you guys do the interior of it, it feels like it's really big, and it looks to me like it's a mix of real sets and then I assume a green screen.
It's actually a lot of practical, believe it or not. They built a huge amount of the corridors and all that stuff. But there's times where we do add scope to it, and that's something that I think the EPs definitely wanted to do and make sure that the show felt big, because it's a huge ship, right? So we did do green screen in some areas, and like I said up on stage, we would extend the hallways and things like that. But for the most part, it's a lot of practical.
What was the most difficult episode you did, and why?
I mean, I think every episode brings us challenges. It's just a question of what that is. You know what I mean? I mean, you go into each episode with a new set of assets and storyline and visual effects and all that. And so it's really, it's. I wouldn't say it's difficult. I would just say it's a challenge. You know what I mean? Because every episode is a new episode, and you start again, and you have to figure out, okay, what shots do we have of what ships and what are they doing and all that stuff. So it's just a process, and it's something we've had a blast with on season 1.
And working on Star Trek Discovery, were you a fan of any of the other Star Trek shows, and which one was the one that you loved the most?
Probably TOS, but I liked it all, and I watched a lot of it. Mm-hmm. And in fact, when I was starting to work on the show, I decided I was going to get all of the Star Trek content, all of the shows. And I ambitiously thought I was going to watch all of it, which never happens. But I'm still trying to get through everything, but it's definitely a process. But I love TOS. I love some of the stuff that JJ's doing in the movies. I mean, I think there's a lot of good stuff in all of them. DS9 was fun, too.
One of my friends loves DS9 as well. So now that you're working on Star Trek, are there anything that you worked on that you said to yourself, you know what, I'm going to take this home with me? So do you have something at your house that was from the set?
No, I can't take anything because Mario would beat me up. That's this guy right here. So he's got a pretty tight lock on all the cool prop stuff, but I'm hoping he'll get me something pretty soon.
I went to the museum pop-up that they had at San Diego Comic-Con last year. Did you go to it as well?
I did not go. I was actually working. I was working on set at the time, so I couldn't go.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. One final question about working on it. Since it is such a large cast, what's it like doing the effects for that many people at one time? Is it mostly done on, I assume you guys use a computer to do most of it, but when you're plotting it out, do you do it the old-fashioned way with drawings, or do you use, or have you gone totally technology as far as how you do your design?
Computers, and a lot of what we do, at least when it involves visual effects, and a lot of people like, for instance, the first shot in episode 1 coming out of the eye, and that whole room is actually done in 20 passes of people that we put together individually to form one thing. So if you watch it, it looks like there's 150 people there, but it's actually pods of probably 10 or 15 people, and we basically just painstakingly go in by hand and put tape on the ground and go, everybody stand here. And then the camera does its thing, and then we go, okay, now everybody go back here. The camera does its thing. It's very tedious, but it ends up looking good in the end. So,
was there any show or TV or anything that inspired you on how you made it look that wasn't part of the Star Trek universe?
I think as a VFX supervisor, and I was an artist before I was a supervisor. This is the only job I've ever had, is doing visual effects. I think you take something from everything that you watch, you know what I mean? And there's so much good visual effects out there now. The content is amazing. There's so many great movies and TV shows to choose from that I think you always look at something and go, oh, that'd be cool if we did that. Or I wonder how they did that, and then you watch the behind the scenes to see if you can, use that in your own set of shots or something like that. So I don't think there's anything we directly pulled from anything, but you're always influenced by the movies you watch and the TV shows and all that. So.
And I know eventually they're going to release a DVD, and they'll probably have like hidden scenes or scenes that didn't make it. Was there something that you worked on that ended up not being on an episode that you are excited that the fans will be able to see once they buy the released DVD with all the hidden?
If there's anything that we didn't see on camera after the fact, there's a lot of before and after stuff that we have that we've sort of put out and handed off to CBS, and I'm sure everybody will see a lot of that coming soon. There's a lot of cool, before and afters from the green screen all the way to the end final product, so I think everybody will like that.
Thank you so much for speaking with me. Congratulations
My
on
pleasure.
Star Trek Discovery, the first season on CBS All Access. I look forward to seeing you guys next year.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.